Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Socorro, Texas. It is November 19th, 2024, 5:30 p.m. We call this meeting to order.
Thank you, Mr. Arroyos. Moving on to item number 2, establishment of quorum. Andrew Arroyos,
Here.
Enrique Cisneros,
Here.
David Estrada,
Here.
Julie Dominguez, absent. Osvaldo Reza, absent. Yolanda Rodriguez, absent. We have quorum with 3 commissioners present. Moving on to item number 3, open forum. Alfredo, do we have anyone that would like to speak?
Not at the moment.
Thank you. Moving on to item number 4, consider consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion. Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve. Second by David Estrada. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Moving on to item number 5, consider and take action on the approval of the Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision master plan, being a portion of Robert E. Nix, survey number 304, abstract number 10169, and a portion of Robert E. Nix, survey number 305, abstract number 9871, located at 16400 Gateway West Boulevard, City of Socorro, Texas. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Jose Botello, planner with the City of Socorro. Item number 5 on the agenda is the Gateway Industrial Unit 1 Master Plan. So some general information on this master plan. The property owner is SCN Management LLC. Representative is Brad Maples with TC Austin Acquisitions LLC. The lot size is 60.07 acres. The property is currently zoned ICMUD. Current land use is commercial. So some background, City Council voted to approve the rezoning request for this development at their March 21st, 2024 meeting. And so under the summary of request, the applicant is requesting approval of a master plan, and a master plan is required when a development is proposing a zoning change of a property over 5 acres in size. And this is in accordance with section 38-7.3 master plan required. And staff recommends approval of the master plan for Gateway Industrial Unit 1. And so in the next slide, on the location map, you'll see that this property is situated along Gateway West, within close vicinity to I-10. And it's just within our city's jurisdiction. You can see the purple line showing our city limits and the property right within our city limits. On the next slide, you'll see the zoning designation for this property, which is ICMUD. And followed by some pictures taken of the property from Gateway West Boulevard. In the next slide, you'll see the aerial view of this property. And then as part of the requirements for a master plan, the applicants are required to submit a traffic impact analysis. It's a large document, so these are a few pages taken directly from that traffic impact analysis. This is the study site area looking at certain intersections and the traffic counts for those intersections. On the next slide, you'll see the existing AM peak hour traffic counts. The numbers are very small and difficult to see. But given the proximity of this property to Gateway West and I-10, the report is favorable for a development of this nature. And this is page 3 of 3, which is the 2025 projected AM peak hour traffic counts for this development. On the next slide, you'll see the development schedule. So this development is estimating to be completed in March of 2026. and then followed by the development plan showing access from the property from Gateway West Boulevard, showing the intent of developing two warehouses, the ponding area towards the front abutting Gateway West Boulevard. And so once again, the summary of the request is for approval of a master plan for Gateway Industrial Unit 1. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have Mr. Jorge Grajeda from CEA present to answer any questions as well.
I don't have any questions.
So, I guess if you can clarify, it says here, City Council approved the rezoning back in March 21st, March of 2024. And so is the master plan after the fact, or did they approve it without the master plan and we're catching up on the master plan? Or am I confused? Shouldn't there have been a master plan prior to rezoning approval?
So the code is unclear, and so the zoning requirements are outlined in chapter 46. And so this requirement is coming from the subdivision chapter 38. And so we're hoping to address that discretion or that
Discrepancy?
yeah, in the unified code rewrite, because it doesn't really clarify at what point this master plan is being requested, but it does say that a master plan is required when a development is proposing a zoning change of a property over 5 acres in size, which applies in this case, you know, given the size of this development being 60 acres. And so we typically present the master plan during the planning process. So the master plan is supposed to be approved before the planning process, but in this case, it's a master plan, and then the following item is the plats for this development.
But along with the ICMUD rezoning, you did see a lot of this information. The plan, the traffic impact analysis, and this development schedule.
When we looked at this at the
When we looked
first
at this
time.
the first time.
And that was approved, and then City Council approved it.
Yes,
And so now we're looking at a master plan now, that's this item, and then the following item is related to the same property,
yes, the preliminary and final plat.
the preliminary and final plat. Am I missing anything? It just seems confusing.
I mean, I have a question. Are there any variances that we're requesting for either of these, the preliminary or the final plat?
Yes, you'll see it along with plats for item number 6.
I'm just confused on it. I'm not clear. You guys clear on the process? Okay, I'll probably abstain on this one.
Make a motion to approve?
I second.
I have a motion made by Enrique Cisneros to approve, second by Andrew Arroyos. All those in favor of the motion?
I abstain.
Any nays? Any abstain?
I abstain.
We need the 3. Marwan, just to clarify, does that pass or?
Yeah, that should pass because we have the majority of the quorum present that voted on that.
Okay, thank
Thank
you.
you.
A motion carried. Moving on to item number 6, consider and take action on the approval of the preliminary plat, final plat, and variance request for section 46-631, off-street parking requirements for a reduction in parking space requirements of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area for Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision, being a portion of Robert E. Nix, survey number 304, abstract number 10169, and a portion of Robert E. Nix, survey number 305, abstract number 9871, located at 16400 Gateway West Boulevard, City of Socorro, Texas. Mr. Botello?
Good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Item number 6 on the agenda is the Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision preliminary plat, final plat, and variance request. So the general information is the same as the prior item number 5. The lot size is 60.07 acres. The zoning for the property is ICMUD. Current land use is commercial. And so the summary of the request is for approval of a preliminary plat, final plat, and variance request for a reduced parking space requirement of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area for Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision. And staff recommends approval of the preliminary plat, final plat, and variance requests for a reduced parking space requirement of 1 space per 400 square feet of net leasable office space and 1 space per 5,000 square feet of net leasable warehouse area for Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision. On the next slide, you'll see the same image for the location map. The property is situated along Gateway Boulevard West and close proximity to I-10. Followed by the same zoning map showing the property outlining the thick yellow line for the ICMUD zoning district. And then on the next slide, you'll see the same pictures taken from Gateway West Boulevard. Followed by the aerial view of the property. This is the traffic impact analysis that was submitted along with the master plan application, also part of the requirements for the platting of this property. And page 3 of 3. The development schedule, once again, is the development is estimated to be completed in March of 2026. And then this is the preliminary plat sheet 1 of 2, showing Lot 1, which is the lot abutting Gateway West Boulevard. And then the preliminary plat sheet 2 of 2, showing the rear portion of the property. Followed by the final plat showing very similar information. And final plat sheet 2 of 2. So the summary of the request is for approval of a preliminary plat, final plat, and variance request for Gateway Industrial Unit 1 subdivision. And at this time, staff can answer any questions. We also have Mr. Jorge Grajeda with CEA present to answer any questions as well.
I do have one question. So can we make it a caveat to approve with the staff recommendation and the variance so long as it stays a logistical center and not a manufacturing? Or I know we've addressed it, but I can't remember how we ended with that in the similar cases like this. Or would that be part of the occupancy certificate process?
It would be addressed at the certificate of occupancy portion. If the use ever changed, it would be addressed at that point.
It would be, okay. Could we reinforce that with approval with staff recommendations? So
No,
long as-
because that's in the future when a future use is addressed. For this, it's approving it per these
Yeah.
For this use.
And then it's from changing from one to the other. Okay. Okay, thank you. That was my question.
Okay, good. Make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to approve, second by Enrique Cisneros. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain?
Abstain.
Motion carried. Moving on to item number 7, Planning and Zoning Commissioners Report.
I do have one question. Can we have staff start looking at if there's, is there plans to make a distinction between logistical center, parking spaces, and manufacturing? That way we can make it
Yes.
easier for the developers, for us, staff, everybody?
Yes, that ordinance change is on our list of things to address, probably sooner rather than as a part of the overall,
Future land use.
the overall Uniform Development Code rewrite that we're currently that's currently underway, because that's still a year and a few months out.
Yeah.
So
And this way
there are some things that will rise to the level of, well, we should just address them now, because
Okay.
they're,
On our plate.
they might be directives from, say, city council, you all, and we can address them as we go along. I just took one to city council, which was to update a process that was outdated. The zoning map has not been manually kept on hand in many, many years. We update that through our GIS system. It's available online for anybody to view. Yet our ordinance reflected an old way of doing things. So we can definitely address that. And any other items that you feel, as you're maybe looking at cases and maybe looking back at old agendas, and you see things that need to be addressed, please send me an email, a note, or just give me a call, and we can make sure that we capture all of that in the code rewrite.
Thank you.
Yeah, I need clarification on the last two cases we looked at, or,
Right now? So
Yeah.
the issue is that the so in the subdivision ordinance, there are requirements. And the master plan requirements come up at the subdivision phase of the development. At us as staff, when we're meeting with people individually up front, and we know that it's going to trigger the need for a master plan, that we address that and let them know, but it doesn't come up until the subdivision portion of the development. According to our code, if you're following along, because
okay,
the zoning will happen before, or, and when necessary, the zoning might happen and there might not be a need to plat, because maybe the property's already platted. It's just a matter of working out all of the steps to see what the ultimate goal is of the development.
okay, so with this one, this was 60 acres. If we set this one aside, and if I look at this, it says a master plan is required when a development is proposing a zoning change of a property over 5 acres. And so I imagine, okay, let's say there's a developer coming in with a 100-acre plot, and they're proposing a rezoning, and us not having a master plan, not knowing what that master plan is, let's say they tell us verbally, well, we want a combination of mixed use, commercial.
And that can happen with the zoning and along with the master plan if that's all laid out initially. But here you did see a version of the master plan, because this hasn't changed from what was approved with the development plan that's approved along with the ICMUD. The ICMUD outlines that they have to they have to submit the plan to the planning department with that level of detail, what the land use is, all of the parking, laying out everything, and to include the traffic impact analysis, the development schedule. So all of that laid out specifically in the ICMUD. It seemed a little redundant doing it with these, but it is a requirement of the subdivision ordinance.
So on something like, and I get something like this, I'm thinking, okay, it's one use, it's good, but on a master, it seems like a master plan should be proposed and
Along
should
with
be
the
voted
zoning.
along with the rezoning,
Mhm.
so that, because
And
the
we
way
can-
this is presented, for example, it's like the rezoning and then a master plan after the fact, but now they can basically do whatever it is that they.
No, they're tied to the ICMUD development plan that was approved with the ICMUD development plan. While there are some, there's some language in the ordinance that allows for administrative approval, but if they change it, if there are there are many changes, and again, that's also outlined in the ordinance, they have to come back to planning and zoning for the amendment. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Marwan, you're on mute.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
So I was just gonna add that, there's really nothing wrong actually with doing a master plan after a rezoning. But no matter what, the rezoning always has to be done first, so that is the right order. A lot of time, I think developers sometimes will not take further steps when they're doing a development until they know that a rezoning would get approved, because if it's not gonna get approved, then that kind of, throws all the plans out the window. So they don't wanna invest all the time and the money and the engineers and all that. So they'll usually try to get the rezoning done first. If that gets approved, now I think you guys are both right that you can simultaneously do a master plan and a rezoning it'd still be two separate items, but at the same hearing. Like today on this second item, it says preliminary and final plat. So you can bring two at once. But that's really the reason. I don't think there's anything usually bad intentions behind it. I think it's just developers, they don't want to spend all the money and the capital if the rezoning won't even get approved on day one, because then you can't do anything after that. And then even after that, there could be changes that the master plan maybe looks different. I'm not talking about this example, but on other examples, master plan could be different. Preliminary plat could look a little bit different. The process, it is okay to have changes, and if it requires an amendment, then it needs to come back. Or if it's something, our code actually addresses if it's a material change, if it's a big deal versus something small that doesn't, a minor change. So, you always need to anticipate there will be changes in the process. There's nothing wrong with get a rezoning first. That's more of just a function of, is it worth the time and investment for a developer to go through that whole thing? But that's the only thing I wanted to add.
Okay, understood, thank you.
And then just the only other thing I would add is that there are some, again, that the master plan is in the language of the subdivision ordinance, but there are, along with the ICMUD, additional master plan kind of development plan requirements. The ICMUD, the PUD, the planned unit development, also has additional requirements that kind of hope to, at least that's the way it's written, right, to tie the development to the zoning so that we can get what we approved. But again, items that we need to flesh out and iron out as to improve in the code rewrite.
Okay, well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then also, so the master plan fee is about 4,719. So it's if we decide to enforce this requirement during the rezoning, and the rezoning doesn't get approved, the developers lose that money. So we try to also be mindful of new development, and so the process is a little bit confusing as it's written in the code, but that's what we're going to try to address with the unified code rewrite.
Okay, thank you.
Thank- Thank you all. Moving on to item number 8, Planning and Zoning Department Report. Ms. Quimito?
I don't have anything to report.
Sorry.
No, yeah.
I just thought of the Caminando, or what was it, the event you guys had last week?
Oh, the transit development plan, if you'd like a little recap.
It was great. I went to it, learned a lot. They answered a bunch of our questions, and
that,
so good job.
They
Very
had
cool.
interactive activities to get folks to think about routes, where do people want to go if they had that option? How many, if you could just think about it for yourself, take a few minutes, how many of your daily trips you could replace with a walk, with a quick bus ride? And what would it take to make those feasible for you and attractive for you, or options where you would go ahead and replace them by something shorter rather than a car ride? And then money, an investment question. There were several options. What would transit look like? What would you like transit to look like if you had the dollars to spend on a fixed route system, which some would say might be limiting to, say, major roadways? How long is that walk for me to get to a bus stop if I live in a residential area near a major roadway where I could get to a fixed route? Versus some of the newer things that communities are looking at, which are microtransit, which is a public version of Uber and a Lyft, where if it's in a certain zone, you can go ahead and schedule a pickup and a drop off, and there are softwares out there that provide that logistic ability for the transit, whoever's managing the transit, right, to schedule those so that they can be efficient. But there's balance. And then the other level of that was day of the week. Is this Monday through Friday? Till what time in the evening? Saturday, Sunday? It's really difficult to live in a community with great public transit, but if it ends at 6 and I go in at 3 and I get off at 9, that doesn't really serve me at all. And then I knew I was gonna lose my train of thought when I jumped over to this whole day a week, time a week, but the balance of fixed route, I can keep on increasing users and I don't increase the cost. But if I keep increasing the users on the microtransit, I do increase the cost. I get more fuel, I get more, more fuel costs, more mileage, and so on. So just interesting conversations to have with folks who are interested in seeing what our transit needs are in the community, and how we can benefit from them as a community at large.
And just to add to that, if anybody that you know is using the Sun Metro Public Transit, that's gonna change pretty drastically.
Yes, so January 1, Route 84 will not run through Socorro. I still don't think that the county transit, which are the smaller buses, which are separate routes that I believe are 3 or 4 that make their way through Socorro to the Nestor Valencia Transit Center, up to Horizon. Those haven't been decided, whether those are just gonna be reduced, completely taken out. We'll learn more about that as we get closer to the end of the year. But the city wants to make sure that once, and that's one of the reasons we're conducting this study. What do we need to do in order to meet our transit needs once Route 84 goes away? And then is it worth, what does transit look like for us? What do we need? What is that investment? Is it better for us to join the LGC, go ahead and start up our own, and then take it from there?
And if I remember correctly, if you do know anybody that does use the Sun Metro system, they want to identify themselves and get pointed in the direction of Alejandra?
No,
or who would
if
it be?
anybody wants to be a part of that conversation, again, we encourage everybody to visit our website, and you can find the link to the survey, to the project development website, and provide all of the input that you can there. We are also going to have a team out this week, right, visiting with people at the bus stops, getting them to hopefully fill out the surveys and find out more about, again, what our actual ridership looks like, because there are numbers out there and they don't exactly gel with what we're seeing.
So very cool.
Yes.
It was awesome.
Thank you, Mr. Cisneros.
Thank you for bringing that up, I
Yes.
appreciate that, thank you.
Now moving on to item number 9, consider and take action on the adjournment of this meeting. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn.
A sec-
Second.
I have a motion made by Andrew Arroyos to adjourn, second by David Estrada. All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstain? Motion carried. Meeting adjourned at 6:01. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.